There's a meme that predates the internet, which goes like this. If you protest mass immigration to the United States, or illegal immigration, either mass immigration or illegal immigration to the United States, and you're white, you're a bit hypocritical because your ancestors come from people who mass immigrated into Native American society, right? You came into this country that was Native American ruled and run, and you mass immigrated and then took over. Right? So you're descended from people who did exactly what the mestizos today are doing to California and the southwestern United States. And this is, to me, is transparently silly. Right? When the Europeans came to the Americas, they weren't interested in being included in Native American society. They weren't interested in being accepted by the Native Americans as one of them. Right? The way these mestizos come in and say, I'm just as American as you. Right? Europeans never did that. Europeans never came and said, I'm just as Iroquois as you. No. Europeans weren't interested in becoming Iroquois. Right? Europeans weren't interested in becoming anything like that. Right? Europeans weren't interested in coming in and taking over infrastructure from the Native Americans, or taking over their government, or setting up a budget in such a way that the Native Americans could be taxed to the benefit of the Europeans. The Europeans weren't interested in any of that. They weren't interested in getting any food stamps or free medical services or free schooling. The Europeans weren't interested in any of that. All the Europeans wanted when they came into the Americas was land. And they used bullets and bombs to take land and expel the Native Americans into smaller areas. Right? It is not analogous to illegal immigration at all. And I, for one, would much prefer if these mestizos were militarily conquering, or actually my biggest preference would be if they just demanded direct annexation of Arizona, California, New Mexico. I would all of Texas, right, and expel the whites out of that area. I would much prefer that to what's actually happening, which is mass immigration of the mestizos who then insinuate themselves into the United States. Right? Because that means control. That means they're going to be voting and they're going to be controlling white people. And when you look at what white people do, when the European powers conquered Africa or conquered India, Europeans didn't set up a program to be accepted by the Africans, except to the extent that it would make their rule easier. For example, Napoleon claiming to become a Muslim when he conquered Egypt. But otherwise, Europeans don't do that, right? You see mestizos coming into the United States and being very, forthright and very in your face about how they're just as much an American as a white person. And, you have to ask the question, like, Europeans never do that. I mean, Europeans never go to Japan and say, I'm just as Japanese as any of you. Or they don't go to Nigeria and say, I'm just as Nigerian as you. I mean, it speaks to, well, I'm not going to... I think it's pretty obvious the kind of just strange psychology that these people have, that they want to be, part of a European society. Like that. This is not what Europeans do. Like, Europeans don't go around saying, I'm going to be, I'm just as Vietnamese as you. Right? I mean, you'll see that. You'll see black people going to Denmark saying, I'm just as Danish as you. But you don't see a European going to an African country saying, I'm just as, Ugandan as you. I mean, Europeans don't do that. And when Europeans conquered the Americas, they didn't want anything to do with Native American society. They didn't want to become part of the Native American fabric and tapestry. No, they just wanted the land and the Native Americans were just in the way of that which the Europeans wanted to build. Okay, it's not analogous at all. What the Europeans did in the Americas is not at all analogous to what the mestizos are trying to do to Europeans in the United States. And quite frankly, to me, it's kind of sick and dishonorable what the mestizos are trying to do. It's wanting to insinuate themselves within another population and then demanding all sorts of social services and benefit and affirmative action and special recognition and voting in elections that make laws that tell Europeans what they can and can't say, right? What they can and can't say in terms of getting hired, right? And demanding all sorts of programs, or putting forth all sorts of programs to say to reassure themselves that they're Americans, and that these presentations and propaganda stuff in the universities telling and like to try to get everyone to recognize. I guess it's a mass self-reassurance thing to get everyone to recognize that us Latinos, we're just as American as you. And it's all weird to me, and it's all kind of gross to me. Whereas just straight up forthright conquest is something a bit more honorable. And I, for one, would much prefer that. And the white people to be expelled to a smaller cloistered region. Right? I would much prefer that to what is actually happening. So the point here is, when you see someone make that dumb thing, trying to analogize illegal immigration into the United States with the European conquest of the Americas, maybe you could link them to this video. Probably not, because people see, YouTube video. I don't watch YouTube. YouTube videos don't mean anything. All right, but these arguments are pretty obvious. Okay. It's not something that, it's not that I'm bringing up new facts that people don't know. It's just, just pointing something very obvious out, right? Assembling facts that everyone knows that, no, these are not the same at all. It's not analogous at all.